Good afternoon, everybody. So, a lot of my friends have already spelled out in detail what are the exams in India, what is the syllabus like, and what kind of exams are conducted by different states. Now, let me clarify this at the outset that the syllabus for a majority of examinations in India I think somebody had already referred to it also, that for a lot of subjects, for a lot of exams in India right now, you will have the same general studies papers, and at most in some exams, you will have the civil services aptitude paper as well. So I would not probably dwell into the syllabus part because everybody probably knows about the syllabus thing now. I would try and stick to what exams we have here in Jammu and Kashmir, and how the candidates can prepare for the same exam. So there are two things I would probably focus on. A, obviously the eligibility requirements of various competitive exams conducted by the Jammu and Kashmir Public Services Commission. And obviously, once you clear the exam, what will you become? So, for example, you clear the State Civil Services, Kashmir Administrative Services exam, or the Kashmir Police Service exam. What exactly would you become? Because that's very important to understand, because that would become the base of your motivation at the end of the day. Now, eligibility requirements. These are the five exams basically that are conducted by the Jammu and Kashmir Public Services Commission. And at the fag end of this presentation, obviously, I would also give you an idea about the non-gazetted services or the non-gazetted exams that are conducted by a separate body that is known as the Jammu and Kashmir Services Selection Board. Now, the first exam that we are going to talk about is the Jammu and Kashmir Services, Jammu and Kashmir Combined Services Competitive Examination, also known as the KAS, the Kashmir Administrative Services Examination. Now, a few important things to note here, and the most important part to note here would be that in order to appear for the exam, you need to be a permanent resident of the state. But now, recently, after Article 370 was abrogated, this condition was changed, and you need to now be a domicile of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in order to be a domicile, there are different categories. For example, you need to have studied in Jammu and Kashmir for around 7 years, or you need to be a child of the All India Services or an officer working for the public sector undertakings, and you must have been here for around 10 years. So there are different criterias related to how you can get a domicile certificate, but this part is very important, that you need to be a domicile of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, people who are already residing in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir and who have a permanent resident certificate do not need to worry about it, but people from other parts of the country who want to appear for the examinations in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, they should please look at the conditions related to domicile and what are the different categories. One very important category for students is the 7 year clause. Then you need to have studied for 7 years in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, and you should have done either your 10th or 12th from the same UT. Now, apart from that, the age limit is very important. The minimum age obviously is 21, then the maximum is 32. For SC/ST, obviously there is a relaxation. For physically challenged, there is a relaxation. Now, very important point is related to the graduation part. Now, what do you need to study in order to be eligible for the same exam? Now, the simple point is, whether you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're a management graduate, you're an agriculture graduate, you're a horticulture graduate, you're from any field, basically it really does not matter. So you just need to have a bachelor's degree from any university in India or from any university abroad. That's it, that's all. And about the syllabus part, then most of my friends have obviously delineated the syllabus part regarding these examination. It does not change here in Jammu and Kashmir. You have the same general studies papers, the same polity, the same history, the same economy. So you just need to study what you're studying for other examinations. For example, the kind of syllabus you have for UPSC, you have the exact same exam pattern for the same examination here in the UT as well. Now, what is most important to understand is what will you exactly become after you clear the examination. Now, if you could look at the right side of my slide, you will understand that I have written that you can either become a Tehsildar, a BDO, an Assistant Director of Tourism, Handicrafts, Handloom, CAPD, a District Social Welfare Officer, and so on. Now, these are very important posts when it comes to the district administration or the divisional administration or the state administration. For example, if you are the under secretary of any department, now the proposal for anything that is approved by the principal secretary or the at the highest level starts from you. So you play a very, very important role in doing anything that the government does. For example, the government has to transfer a few people in the higher education department, and you are posted as under secretary higher education. Then the proposal to screen people and to see who has spent how many years in which college, it will come from you, and then the proposal from you will go to the additional secretary and then the administrative secretary and then the cabinet as well. Now, the other posts as well, for example, the block development officer, the assistant director for tourism, handicrafts, handloom, these are all very important posts. Now, for example, if you look at the assistant director for tourism, he plays a very, very important role in ensuring that there is a good tourist outflow, tourist inflow in a specific tourist area. Then apart from that, he ensures that the hotels are in a very good condition and the tourism is progressing. So similarly, there are other posts as well, BDO and logistics social welfare officer. And if you clear this examination, you will obviously be holding one of these posts very at a very early stage in your career. Now, this is about the JNK Combined Competitive Services Examination, also known as the KAS. Now, similarly, when you appear for the same examination, there is a choice that you get. You can obviously choose the KPS as well, the Kashmir Police Services. Now, this is a very powerful service in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir because of so many factors that are present. So, if you clear the examination, what will you become is obviously the most important question. The syllabus remains the same, the exam remains the same. You have three stages: prelims, mains, and interview. You have the general studies papers, the civil service aptitude test, and other things that have already been described by my friends in the earlier presentations. So when you clear this exam, you'll become a DYSP, so that is the Deputy Superintendent of Police. You may also be posted as an SDPO. Many of you must have heard in your areas that this man is the SDPO of our areas, the Subdivisional Police Officer of the area. So once you clear this examination, you get directly posted as SDPO of that particular area. And when you get promoted after a period of say 7 to 8 years or 9 years, you get a chance to become the additional SP, and then finally you get a chance to become the district SP, which obviously many of you know district SP is a very powerful post. And if you have service left, and if you have age left, then you can obviously proceed to become the DIG, who heads a range. A range can have multiple districts, and then finally you can become the IG as well. Now, if you qualify obviously the IPS examination, then there is a huge chance of becoming the Director General of Police. Once you clear the state services, the chances of becoming the Director General of Police are very less. So this is about the JNK Combined Services Competitive Examination. There are two very important posts that you can hold. Either you can enter into the Kashmir Administrative Services, or you can enter into the Kashmir Police Services. But you need to understand that the most important part is that you need to prepare for the exam, you need to read for the exam, and once you clear, then only you can hold such posts. Now, this is a very important exam as well. Now, I would not want you to guys to focus on the other things that I've tried to write here. I mean, the age limit and etc. etc. That's very simple. You have to understand these two things at the bottom of the slide. Candidate must have acquired a bachelor degree in law from recognized university or an institute, or a barrister of England or Northern Ireland, or a member of the faculty of advocates in Scotland, or something. So basically, in order to write the Jammu and Kashmir Civil Services Judicial Exam, you need to have an LLB. Now that is the only criteria. This is what distinguishes it from the Jammu and Kashmir Combined Competitive Services Exam. There you have to remember that you need to be a graduate. Any graduate will do. Law, medical, engineering, agriculture, any graduate will do. Here in this case, any graduate will not do. It is very necessary to understand that you need to be a law graduate. And the exam, once you write the exam, it has the same three stages: prelims, mains, and interview. It will have your law subjects, which you would have obviously studied in your 5-year law course. Again, You need to be a permanent resident of the state, obviously, but now obviously, as I've written here also, that it has been changed to domicile recently. For that, you need to have studied for 7 years at least in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. For people who already hold a permanent resident certificate of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, they don't need to worry, they don't need to have a domicile certificate. What would you obviously become is very important. You can obviously become, when you get recruited and when you qualify, you can become a munsif, and then obviously you can become a chief judicial magistrate, then you can become a sessions judge, and then if you have your service left, you can obviously get elevated as high court judge as well. So it has a very good progress, and the kind of power and authority that you hold in the judicial services is very, very huge. So these are this is all about the judicial services examination. You need to obviously hold a law degree, then obviously you need to be a lawyer, and obviously you need then if you qualify the examination, you can either become a munsif or a CJM or a sessions judge. Now, this is another exam that is conducted by the Jammu and Kashmir, sorry, the this is another exam that is conducted by the Jammu and Kashmir Public Services Commission. Now, this is a range officer. Now, a range officer is related to the forest services of the state. Now, if you look at the central government, or if you look at UPSC, you'll understand that the UPSC every year conducts an examination for the Indian Forest Services. Now, this is the state version of that. You can either get recruited as a range officer or an assistant conservator of forest. Very simple. If you want to get recruited as a range officer, since it is a specialist service, a candidate must have acquired BSc forestry or its equivalent from any university recognized by the ICAR. You need to be a graduate of forestry. That is the only condition. You forget about the age criteria, because it has a huge age criteria. I mean, you have a minimum of 18 years and a maximum of 40 years, and for RBA it extends up to 43. So if you want to get recruited as a range officer, and if you want to be in charge of a forest range in a particular area in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, then you can write this exam. Apart from that, if you qualify this exam, you get recruited as a class 2 range officer. Then you, after a few years, you get promoted as the assistant conservator of forests, and then obviously you can become the divisional forest officer, and then accordingly you can become the conservator or the chief conservator. So accordingly your career progression will follow. Now, this post, assistant director of statistics, because I'm focusing on the gazetted posts mostly and not on the non-gazetted services in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, assistant director of statistics is another specialist post, and simple same thing. You need to be a permanent resident of the state, which has been changed to domicile recently. But again, the last point is very important. Candidate must hold master's degree in economics or statistics or commerce or math. So basically there are four things, in fact five. You need to have a master's degree in economics, stats, commerce, math, or an MCA, masters of computer applications. So these five degrees make you eligible to write this examination. It will again have three stages: pre, mains, and interview. You will have the same procedure to be followed. You'll have questions from math, you'll have questions from stats, etc., and etc. Now, assistant director of statistics and planning is a very, very important post. Now, since I'm posted in district Udhampur doing my probation in the district, I realized what kind of power does an assistant director of planning hold, or a chief planning officer. I mean, the kind of power they hold is, I mean, is absolutely impeccable. Now, for example, we have the, obviously everybody knows that the district magistrate or the collector is the in charge of the area. Now, the chief planning officer, who comes from the same cadre, is the main person who advises the DM on every issue related to planning. Now, for example, if the DM has to review anything in the district, he has to review regarding roads, he has to review regarding pipelines, he has to review regarding anything. The chief planning officer becomes his advisory main man. Now that is very important. So this post becomes a very important post when it comes to a district. Now you can get recruited as an assistant director for planning, then you can after a few years get promoted as deputy director planning, then you can get promoted as chief planning officer. Now chief planning officer is a district level officer. Then if you have a good service left, you can go and become as the director planning, and if you are young enough, you can make it to the top and become the director general of planning, who sits in the civil secretariat and is the advisory man for the principal secretary planning. Now this is very important. This post is very important, and this post is valued by all the officers because of the kind of power and the kind of impact this post has. So assistant director statistics and planning is another post you guys can apply for. Now this post, assistant conservator of forests. Now this is very this is an important post as well. Now I earlier explained that in order to be a part of the forest services, you can write the Indian Forest Services examination, and in order to be part of the state forest services, you can write the range officer examination. But at some point of time, these Public Services Commission has advertised posts where they recruit people directly for the assistant conservator of forests. Now forget about the age criteria. In this case, you need to hold a bachelor's degree or equivalent in science or engineering. साइंस के ग्रेजुएट होने चाहिए या इंजीनियरिंग के ग्रेजुएट होने चाहिए, दोनों में से किसी के भी ग्रेजुएट आप चल जाएंगे. तो विद एटलीस्ट इफ यू लुक एट द फुट नोट, यू विल रियलाइज, अगर आप नीचे देखें तो आपको समझ आएगा कि विद एटलीस्ट वन ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट्स, agriculture, botany, chemistry, computers, engineering, environment, forestry, geology, horticulture, math, physics, stats, veterinary, zoology, इनमें से if you're a graduate of any of these subjects, इनमें से किसी के भी graduate हो आप, तो you can sit for the assistant conservator of forest examination. Or I would tell you something like this. I know people जिन्होंने 2013 में who had cleared this examination of assistant conservator of forests, and in a matter of few years in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, they have become director social forestry, regional director, so and so. So it has a very good career progression, and many of them they are very hopeful of the fact that they'll become and rise to the post of chief conservator. A few of them, if they're young enough, वो लोग additional principal chief conservator of forest भी बन सकते हैं. So ये था basically जो वो एग्जाम्स है जो जम्मू कश्मीर पब्लिक सर्विसेज कमीशन ने एडवर्टाइज करता है, और obviously you can appear for these examinations. Now this is a bit different. नाउ जो मैंने पोस्टों की अभी तक बात की, या द काइंड ऑफ पोस्ट्स आई हैव स्पोकन अबाउट, दे आर बेसिकली गैजेटेड पोस्ट्स. तो वो गैजेटेड ऑफिसर्स जो होते हैं स्टेट के, यूटी के या कंट्री के, वो वाले पोस्ट थे. अब जिनकी मैं स्पेसिफिकली इस स्लाइड एक मैं बात करूंगा, ये है नॉन गैजेटेड. नाउ दीज आर जम्मू एंड कश्मीर सर्विसेज सिलेक्शन बोर्ड posts. These are advertised by JKSSRB, इसको कहते हैं, and a number of them are advertised regularly. People who are in their graduation, people who have completed their graduation, people who are in their college or school, they must have heard about these posts. Now the first post I'm going to talk about here is Naib Tehsildar ka exam. What will you become? Obviously you will, once it's the Naib Tehsildar exam, so you'll become the Naib Tehsildar, then you get promoted as Tehsildar, then you get inducted into the Kashmir Administrative Services. So isi tarah there is the excise inspector. So once you get recruited as excise inspector, you can become the excise inspector, and then after a few years we can become the excise and taxation officer, and so on and so on, so forth. Your career progression will be there. Now if you get recruited as an assistant information officer through the JKSSRB, then after a few years you can become the district information officer, and similarly so on and so forth. You can see for all the other things that I've written, accounts assistant, you can become the accountant, and then accounts officer, and then district treasury officer, and etc, etc. Now statistical assistant, you will become the SA, then the section officer, then the AD planning and stuff like that. Now इसी तरह पंचायत इंस्पेक्टर के बाद डिस्ट्रिक्ट पंचायत ऑफिसर एंड एटसेट्रा, फाइनेंस इंस्पेक्टर, और उसके बाद आप सीटीओ वगैरह बन सकते हो. तो ये जो है जम्मू कश्मीर सर्विसेज सिलेक्शन बोर्ड वाले एग्जाम और जम्मू कश्मीर पब्लिक सर्विसेज वाले एग्जाम, इनमें ये फर्क है कि जेकेपीएससी जो एग्जाम कंडक्ट करता है, दोज आर फॉर गैजेटेड posts, लेकिन JKSSRB conducts examinations for only non-gazetted posts. So इन सब के लिए भी, if you look at all these examinations, apart from statistical assistant, every exam is open for all. Open for all का मतलब है you just need to be a graduate in any field, medical, engineering, arts, commerce, जिसमें भी you can be a graduate in any field. Just for statistical assistant you need to have the same qualifications you would want to have for assistant director of statistics. Now, so these are the exams conducted by the Jammu and Kashmir Services Selection Board in J&K. Now, what to do if you are in school and college? Now, this is my simple funda. I mean, I am not somebody who will ask you to just read and grind yourself, because if you are in school, you should please enjoy your life. Yes, you should read, but you should just take it easy for a while. If you're in college, yes, start reading, but don't just take it to your head. I mean, the time will come when you'll have to grill it out for 10 to 12 hours a day, but that time will come, and then it's then when you need to obviously go into that hard working mode. Right now you just need to try and develop that habit to study. If you're in school, if you're in college, just try and develop that habit to study. So once you finish college, or once you finish your graduation, and once you get into that mode of clearing the exam, then you have then you should not feel that difficulty of not having that habit to study. You just need to develop that habit, that's all. Rest, just please chill out, just please have that balance in your life right now. Now, the first point is read your textbooks and NCRTs thoroughly, try to understand with conceptual clarity. That's
Mr.
very simple.
Mr. Hasib,
Ji.
Mr. Hasib, can you wind it up in a minute or two?
Yeah, I will. So read your textbooks and NCRTs thoroughly, try to understand with conceptual clarity. Very simple. जो आपकी बुक्स हैं, NCRTs हैं, उनको पढ़े आराम से और जल्दी जल्दी, और उनको conceptual clarity के साथ पढ़ने की कोशिश करें. Read newspaper, कोशिश करें. If you want to read it daily, try and read it daily. If it is not possible, at least once a week to start with, then probably once in 3 days, and ultimately you'll develop that habit. Because the aim I have told you is to develop that habit. Once you finish graduation, you should have that habit of reading the newspaper. Try and read magazines online. Try and write once in a while an article in an op-ed. मतलब दोनों में से कोशिश करें कि बीच में कोई भी आर्टिकल उठा के लिख लिया किसी भी टॉपिक पे. एक ओपेड लिखने की कोशिश की कि अच्छा अगर कोई, जैसे अभी चाइना का इशू चल रहा है और कोई नेपाल का इशू चल रहा है, इफ यू नो अबाउट द इशू, जस्ट ट्राई एंड राइट योर एनालिसिस अबाउट इट. स्पीक टू पीपल हु क्लियर द एग्जाम, जो बहुत बड़ी बात है कि जिन लोगों ने एग्जाम क्लियर किया उनसे बात करें. मेंटल हेल्थ पे फोकस करो rather than anything else. Try to be very tough mentally, because life is going to be very tough and grilling in future. A small thing should not irritate your mind. Just try and develop your mental health. Tough रहो mentally. और इसी तरह इंश्योर यू डोंट ओवरबर्डन, जो मैंने कहा, इंश्योर यू गो आउट एंड एंजॉय. दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. कॉलेज में हो, स्कूल में हो, लाइफ एंजॉय करना सीखो. टेक इट इजी, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता पढ़ो, बिकॉज एक टाइम आएगा जब आपको बहुत ज्यादा ग्रिल करना पड़ेगा. इसीलिए उस फेज के लिए अच्छे से प्रिपेयर करो. नाउ दिस वाज द फाइनल थिंग. थैंक यू वेरी मच.